Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Hello friends, it's me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur immunologist, immune system doctor. Welcome to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Posted on Sunday, and as you may have picked up from my less than lackluster opening, I have been sick. Yes, indeed. Sick since Thursday, also on Friday, also on Saturday, starting to get out of it today. And I said to myself, boy, Colt, you could skip a week. You could take the weekend off, but there's so many good stories. Why not try just to plow through it and do a show? It may not be 40 minutes long, but you know what? I'm going to hit up a few stories that I enjoy reading this week that I wanted to share with you on the broadcast. So, as always, you can find me on social media channels like the Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Counter Social, Cameo. Oh, just, listen to a previous episode. You'll know all of them. Generally speaking, at Colt S. Taylor. Of course, subscribe to this podcast at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. And if you need a great social media management tool, check out socialbee.io. Just too tired to go through all the features they have here, but they're pretty great. You can try them out for 14 days for free. All right, my friends, let's shuffle through this Sunday edition of the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. First up this week in the world of music and auctions and memorabilia, as you are probably aware of, when a famous musical artist passes away, memorabilia related to him often goes to auction, especially things owned by him. Well, this week, the black and white leather jacket that Michael Jackson wore in his 1984 Pepsi commercial sold for $306,000 in an auction in London on this week. The jacket was listed by Auctioneer's Prop Store, and some other items were on sale for auction during this auction, including things from Amy Winehouse, George Michael, the Beatles, David Bowie, and Elvis. The jacket that Jackson wore was part of Pepsi New Generation commercials. In another ad, he famously had his hair caught on fire on set and had to be treated for third-degree burns on his head. But that's not the jacket he was wearing at the time of that auction. Not the jacket he was wearing at the time of the commercial. Now, Michael Jackson, this may be a shock to you, passed away over 10 years ago. Yes, in 2009 at the age of 50. Another jacket was sold. George Michael's leather and denim jacket he wore during the music video I Knew You Were Waiting For Me with Aretha Franklin sold for $1,500,000. The jacket, Michael Jackson's jacket, was expected to sell for $488,000, but didn't quite make that price. Auctions can be tricky. Also at that auction, a hairpiece worn by Amy Winehouse while she was shooting the video You Know I'm No Good sold for $23,000. Other things that Michael Jackson has had sold at auction includes the crystal-studded glove that he wore during his 1984 Victory Tour. And it sold for $190,000. And then in 2019, Kim Kardashian, for $65,000, bought the jacket that Michael Jackson wore on his Thriller video as a Christmas gift for her daughter, North. At the time, quote, North is a really big Michael Jackson fan, and we knew she would love it. We won this on an auction for Northie for Christmas. So I guess, it must be nice to have that sort of money to spend for Christmas. At the auction, a few things were not sold. Did not make, I guess, the auction premium. Included a Beatles limited edition Yellow Submarine jukebox and a guitar owned by Angus Young of AC/DC. So those things, they probably will pop up at auction again soon. Moving along in the world of medical news, as I mentioned before, I was sick this week, and I'm still a little sick right now, as you may be able to tell from my voice. Got probably the flu virus to fight the vaccine, so it could have been much worse. But anyways, speaking of viruses, scientists discovered this week a vampire virus. No, not a virus that turns you into vampires. Not yet, at least. But a virus that latches on to other viruses around the neck of that virus and, injects something into them. So, kind of like a vampire. They was discovered in soil samples collected near Poolesville, Maryland, finding tiny organisms that bite and latch onto the neck of other viruses as part of their effort to infect cells. According to the assistant director of the University of Maryland, Baltimore's College of Natural Mathematics Sciences, quote, "When I saw it, I was like, I can't believe this. No one has ever seen a bacteriophage or any other virus attached to another virus. Previously, scientists have seen viruses working together, where one virus relies on another virus to build a protective shell or replicate its DNA. But the new virus described in this paper, which they deem the mini flare, attaches to a helper virus called the mind flare, quote, at point where the capsid meets the tail. Like the vampires of myth, they go for the neck. Some viruses that they looked in this sample that did not have a satellite attached when observers researched them still showed evidence of having been used in the past. In other words, it had viral bite marks. Weird, right? When scientists examined the genomes of the mind flare, and their infective host cells, they found the mini flare, which is the virus, unlike other satellite viruses, contained no gene for integration into its host, which means that this virus is entirely reliant on the mind flare virus helper when it comes to entering a cell. So it can't enter other cells unless it's through this other virus. The co-author of the paper, Ivan Earle, said, "Attaching now made total sense because otherwise, how are you going to guarantee that you're going to enter into a cell at the same time?" Scientists say that this relationship between these two viruses seems to be very old, suggesting that other satellites and helpers, these are different types of viruses, with similar symbiotic relationships are out there yet to be discovered. Quote, "This satellite has been turning in and optimizing its genome to be associated with the helper for, I would say, at least 100 million years." So, yeah, that should be reassuring. There's vampire viruses out there, and I bet within 2 years we'll have a zombie movie based on that. Next up, my friends, we go to technology. Driverless cars. Yes, that's right. Cars that drive themselves. They've got cameras on top, computers. You don't have to drive them yourself. Just get in, the car drives you with computers and software. Well, General Motors owned Cruise, a driverless car company, voluntarily recalled 950 of its vehicles nationwide after a horrific crash last month. It signaled layoffs could be coming. One of the Cruise's self-driving cars failed to detect a pedestrian pinned beneath its vehicle and dragged her for about 20 feet, causing, as you may imagine, serious injuries. Cruise issued the recall Tuesday to correct the programming in its entire driverless fleet, saying it will address a, quote, post-collision response that could increase the risk of injury. The company already grounded its entire driverless fleet across the country last month after a pedestrian accident. One of the Cruise's driverless cars drives a pedestrian, and apparently the company misrepresented what happened in the October 2nd crash. In a filing to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Board, Cruise said the software update will, quote, address its, quote, collision detection subsystem to better determine whether it should stay in place after a crash or move out of traffic, depending on the nature of the incident. Unlike a traditional recall that involves hardware, recalls such as this one for autonomous vehicles is in the form of software updates. So it's just a software problem. Just a software problem. The issue on October 2nd is where a jaywalking pedestrian stepped into a busy intersection in San Francisco and was hit by a human-driven car. The pedestrian rolled onto the windshield for a few moments before she was flung into the path of a driverless car. Oh boy. The footage of the crash, initially shared by Cruise with the Washington Post and other media outlets and the Department of Motor Vehicles, showed the driverless car stop as soon as it made contact with the pedestrian. However, a few weeks later, California DMV revealed that its investigation learned that the car had continued moving for about 20 feet at 7 miles an hour with the woman pinned underneath. The DMV said it likely increased the pedestrian's injuries. The woman remained in the hospital as of Wednesday, so this was over a month ago. She was messed up. According to the filing to the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Cruise said the software flaw that in certain circumstances after collision has been detected, the system will automatically try to pull the car out of traffic instead of remaining stationary when a pullover is not the desired post-collision response. The issue could occur after a collision with a pedestrian positioned low on the ground and in the path of the automated vehicle. So, yeah. The California DMV suspended Cruise's driverless permits last month after investigators determined the robo-taxi posed an unreasonable risk to the public in the light of the October 2nd crash. So, yeah. So, not, it's hard to say whether these are going to be ready for prime time anytime soon. Although, I will have to say, in the defense of these robots, it's not a everyday situation where someone gets hit by a car up on the windshield and flung in front of another car. So, I mean, it's something you probably should think of, but I can see engineers not thinking that out too clearly for it to happen, So, would I ever get into a driverless car? No, I would not. In fact, I don't even like the concept of handless cruise control, of just, having the car drive itself on the highway. No, that's a big hard pass for me also. No, so, yeah, I do not like that at all. I want to be in control of my own fate. I don't mind reminders to stay in lane, or if a car thinks it might be nodding off, to beep, something like that, but complete control? No, thank you. That's how Terminator 2 started. Speaking of robots turning against their creators, in South Korea this week, a man was crushed to death by a robot that, quote-unquote, mistook him for a box. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Apparently, the man was inspecting a mechanical arm at an agricultural warehouse in South Gyeongsang Province, where the worker in the 40s was inspecting this robot arm. The robot arm was lifting boxes of bell peppers when it misidentified him. According to the police, the mechanical arm pushed the man's upper body onto a conveyor belt and then crushed his face and chest. He died later in the hospital. In a statement, the official from the Dong Gosong Export Agricultural Complex, which owns the plant, called for a precise and safe system to be established. Last March, a South Korean man in his 50s suffered serious injuries when he was trapped by a robot while working on a vehicle parts manufacturing plant. So, just saying, can't trust robots. They might get you. They just might get you. Moving on to the world of technology and now also health, Amazon is entering the healthcare industry, offering low-cost basic care for Amazon Prime members. Yes, that's right. Last year they bought One Medical, which is a primary care, kind of urgent care, providing primary care service company for $3.9 billion. And they're trying to integrate that with Amazon Prime. According to Neil Lindsay, Senior Vice President of Amazon Health Services, quote, when it's easier for people to get the care they engage more in their health and realize better health outcomes. That's why we're bringing One Medical's exceptional experience to Prime members. It's healthcare that makes it dramatically easier to get and stay healthy. So for $99 a year or $9 a month, patients can access virtual care services as well as in-person visits at One Medical clinics across the United States, although that may require additional payments from insurance or out-of-pockets. It includes primary care services, preventive care, treatment for common illnesses, chronic care management, behavioral and mental health support, women's health, LGBTQIA plus care, and more. Amazon Prime members pay $139 annually to access perks like fast shipping services and Prime Video streaming. The standard price of One Medical is $199 annually, so they can save $100 by paying only $99 to get access to all these services. Members will also have access to Amazon Pharmacy, including RX Pass, which lets members get many eligible medications as they need for one flat fee of $5 per month and have it delivered to them in 2 days or less. Crazy. So Amazon made a few unsuccessful attempts to enter the medical world. And so this is their next sort of entry into it. They tried telehealth, but that didn't really work out too well. And they ended that service in 2022. So they're hoping that this will help get them into that industry. Now, this is not meant to replace traditional healthcare plans, but allows them to lower their overall cost by accessing these low-cost features through One Medical. So we'll see what happens. According to Kat Campbell, founder of Howard Helen, a people and culture consulting firm, I wish I had that job, for younger, healthier employees living in the proximity of One Medical centers, I would anticipate a long-term shift away from more expensive employer-provided healthcare options. However, that gravity of this shift will rely heavily on One Medical's expansion across more geographical locations and its ability to brand itself as a reputable, reliable healthcare provider. I would agree. For example, there are no One Medical locations in Philadelphia. The closest, I believe, they got locations in Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Cape Cod, Charlotte, Chicago, Columbus, Connecticut, the state, Washington, D.C., Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Orange County, Phoenix, Portland, Raleigh-Durham, San Diego, Seattle, Tacoma, San Francisco Bay, Tucson, and Triad. Where's Triad? I have no idea what Triad is. It's an area in North Carolina. I guess I know where that is. It's an area in North Carolina where there's a lot of tech stuff, known as the Triad. Okay. But not in Philadelphia, so, nothing that would even remotely interest me. But, we'll see if Amazon can get on the saddle horse here and enter in healthcare. The healthcare world. Hey, whatever. In other tech news, Nextdoor, a neighborhood-focused social media company, is laying off 25% of its full-time staff as they continue to struggle with continuing losses. The job eliminations are part of a cost reduction plan that aims to slash Nextdoor's current personal expenses by $16 million annually, according to a company said in its third quarter financial report published this week. For those who are not on Nextdoor, Nextdoor is a social media platform that focuses on neighborhoods. So, It's like arguing with people online, except you kind of know where they live. Um, I have never been. I was on there briefly. It's just I would say the worst people are on Nextdoor, but boy, people who definitely want to tell you how they feel about things are on there and are very much willing to get into arguments with you. And they kind of know where you live now. Go figure. At the end of 2022, Nextdoor had 704 employees, and they're going to cut them. According to CEO Sarah Fryer, quote, "This reduction in our team is the hardest decision we've had to make at Nextdoor. While our opportunity and belief in the transformative power of community remains unwavering, and our business is financially strong with a healthy balance sheet, we must follow through on our commitment to our shareholders. This means right-sizing our business and aligning our team and other expenses with our near-term revenue expectations." The company lost $38 million last quarter, greater than $35 million it lost in the previous quarter. Revenues rose to $56 million, and weekly active users also increased 6% year over year to 40 million people. Go figure. Nextdoor also announced the resignation of the chief financial officer, Mike Doyle. Matt Anderson, current head of financial strategy, will take his place. So, yeah, more tech layoffs. I've seen a lot of them in the tech sector, some higher education, finance, hospitality, newspapers, all taking a little bit of hits recently. So I guess we'll see if Nextdoor survives. Will I be on there soon? No, you can't find nextdoor.com/Colt S. Taylor. That's a hard pass. Already on too many. Next up, my friend, we go to pandas. Yes, giant pandas. 2 giant pandas and their 3-year-old cub named Mi Zhang Tian and Zhao Kui Ji were sent back to China this week. They left the Smithsonian's National Zoo on a FedEx Boeing 777 named the Panda Express. They were sent through Washington, D.C. with police escorts, along with waving bystanders and trailing journalists. As they returned to China, the aircraft, also loaded with 220 pounds of bamboo, a veterinarian, and 2 zookeepers, took off for a 19-hour flight from Dulles International Airport to China. There, they will join 150 other pandas in a lush nature preserve in the misty mountains of Sichuan province. And that ends an era of panda diplomacy. That term, panda diplomacy, is somewhat of an informal term. China, which is home of giant pandas, has been sending pandas around the world since the 70s as diplomatic gestures to build relations between nations. Originally, they were gifted to nations, but now they are being sent on basically 5-year agreements. And every 5 years, those agreements are renewed or they are not renewed. According to Brandy Smith, the zoo director of the Smithsonian, quote, "It's been a hard week and it's been a hard morning. Please know that the future is bright for giant pandas. We remain committed to our program. We look forward to celebrating with all of you when pandas can return to D.C." The first pair of pandas began during the Nixon era when Patricia Nixon, the first lady of Richard Nixon, mentioned her fondness for pandas, and the China's premier, Zhao Yilan, during his landmark visit to China by President Nixon, within 2 months sent a male and female panda, Ling Ling and Sing Sing, to the National Zoo. The pandas in Washington has persisted over the decades as a symbol of ties between the United States and China. Pretty amazing. But, as you may have learned in the news, U.S. and China tensions have been rising for years, and now there is a speculation that China is asking for the return of the pandas because of the diplomatic deep freeze. Zoo officials, scientists say the actual reason comes down to biology, or, quote, panda time. The 3 pandas, they say, are each at an age when they should be going back to China. Mi Zhang and Tin Tin arrived in 2000, a year after Sing Sing was euthanized due to kidney disease, and 8 years after Ling Ling's passing from heart failure. The two pandas stayed for over a decade under the first formal agreements, and they remained under 2 consecutive 5-year agreements. The last one ended early in the pandemic, and they agreed to a 3-year extension, so not to, send pandas around during the pandemic, but now that the pandemic's kind of over, that agreement has expired. Mi Zhang gave birth in August 2020 at an age the scientists had thought that they could no longer have a baby, so the cub was called Jiao Kui Ji, or Little Miracle. He was her 4th surviving cub born in Washington, D.C. Quote, according to Melissa Songer, a conservation biologist at the zoo who has worked for pandas for 23 years, they are at the age where they should be in China. I don't want to have a panda pass away outside of China. Right now, the only zoo in the United States that have giant pandas are in Atlanta, but they're expected to return next year as well, and there's no current agreements to send other pandas back to the United States at this time. Besides the agreement, there is a fee to have these pandas in the United States, $500,000 per year for a pair, down from $1 million for a decade ago, to be given to the Chinese conservation partner that helps manage the panda reserves and whatnot. So they're sending money to China to help fund these panda reserves. So you don't get them for free. You have to pay for them. Despite that large fee, 4 zoos in the United States have consistently hosted pandas and have worked with 2 separate conservation groups in China to secure them. The National Zoo intends to ask his partner, China Wildlife Conservation Association, for a new pair, and we'll see if they say so. The United States have had a successful panda breeding program, so much so that the panda population in China, with information between China and the United States shared, has recovered quite a bit, to the point where they are considering reintroducing pandas back into the wild. Until recently, pandas were considered very endangered, so scientists at the National Zoo research reproductive cycles to help with panda breeding. Female pandas are fertile for only 1 or 2 days every year, and scientists monitor hormone levels using urine samples to determine when to do artificial insemination. And that is how the last panda, Little Miracle, was born. So we'll see if more pandas will come to the United States. May not be anytime soon, since tensions a wee bit high for various reasons, which you can research. But the last 2 pandas and their cub from the Smithsonian Zoo in Washington, D.C., on their way back home to China to a nature reserve. And finally this week, Emilia Clarke, Jenna Ortega, and Alyssa Russo won a variety of different Woman of the Year awards this week at Harper's Bazaar Women of the Year Awards. Emilia Clarke, who you best know from Game of Thrones, won Actress of the Year. Well, Jenna Ortega won Breakthrough of the Year for her role as Wednesday Addams in the Netflix series Wednesday. Great series. You should check it out. England and Arsenal football player Alicia Russo, who scored a goal for the Lioness during the semifinals of this year's World Cup, won Sportsperson Gong. I guess they're called gongs. Okay, called gongs. She said, quote, "I'm just a football player, but this, I guess, comes with the job now. It's amazing for women's football to see how far it's grown to where the game is today and where we're pushing it forward." Also, Emerald Fennell won Director of the Year. It was presented that award by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She said, I mean, there's nothing in the world I love more than women. It's just a real pleasure to be in the room with so many people I admire, and it's just such an honor and a thrill. Musician Janelle Monáe, great musician, won Musician Award for her album The Age of Pleasure, which was released this year. Serbian artist Maria Armovic, whose work is currently being exhibited at the Royal Academy of the Arts, took home Artist Award, while best-selling author Maggie O'Farrell won a Writers Award. The recipient of the philanthropist gong went to actress Guru Matab Ral for her humanitarian work and Goodwill Ambassador for the UN Human Rights Commission, UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. And then finally, Patsy Stevenson, who was arrested while taking part in a Sarah Everton Vigil in 2021, received a award for being a campaigner award. So congratulations to all the winners of the Harper's Bazaar Women of the Year Award this year in 2023. Well, my friends, that will just about do it for me on this somewhat truncated Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. I'll be back next week with a full episode, whole 40 plus minutes, but, not too bad for being sick, I think. So, until, follow me on social media, look at all the links on the post, just click on them, check them out, follow me, various places. Too tired to go through all of them. But until next week, my friends, I am, of course, your friend, slightly under the weather, but always amazing, Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later. I'm about to go do a shot of cold meds, so I'll check out for the rest of the day, baby.